Harris County 911, police, fire, ambulance.
Somebody's broken into my house and my wife has been shot. I just walked in, my wife, I believe she's been shot. It's got blood everywhere.
Okay, sir, is she breathing?
Her brain is on the floor. I think she's already dead. She's 8 months pregnant.
Belinda Temple was not just a respected teacher, but a beloved figure in the Katy, Texas community. In January of 1999, at 8.5 months pregnant, her life was brutally stolen within the walls of her own home. It would take a grueling 24 years and 3 intense trials before the long journey for justice would finally find its end.
This was about as cold-blooded and diabolical as you can imagine.
Welcome back to our channel, where we explore the darkest and most twisted criminal cases from around the world. Today, we're diving into the tragic and haunting story of Belinda Temple, a wife and soon-to-be mother of 2. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Now, let's dive in. David Temple was a hometown hero in Katy, a star linebacker for Katy High School's football team. He earned the nickname the Temple of Doom for his aggressive playing style and relentless drive to win. Thanks to impressive football skills, David got a scholarship to Stephen F. Austin State University, where he led his squad to their first-ever conference championship in 1989. This victory earned him the prestigious gold championship ring.
In '89, we won the first conference championship in the history of the university.
It was during this time that he met Belinda Lucas, a bright and social young woman from Nacogdoches, Texas. At 20, Belinda was known for her infectious cheerfulness and her passion for sports, particularly volleyball. David was instantly captivated by her, and their connection quickly blossomed. The couple started dating in college, and their love story culminated in a fairy tale wedding. Both David and Belinda achieved their master's degrees in education. In 1995, they welcomed the first child, Evan. With their family expanding, they moved back to David's hometown of Katy, Texas, where they began to build their dream life. Belinda became a beloved special education teacher at Katy High School, while David worked as a football coach at Alief Hastings High School. They seemed to have it all: a fulfilling career, a comfortable home in a charming neighborhood, a spacious backyard where Evan could play, and even a dog named Shaka. Friends and colleagues viewed their marriage as picture perfect. Then, in the summer of 1998, the Temples shared even more exciting news. They were expecting another child, a girl. She had already chosen a name for the baby, Aaron. But as we've seen so many times before, life is no fairy tale. Belinda's joy was about to be shattered in the most devastating way. January 11th, 1999, was a hectic and exhausting day for Belinda, who was now 8 months pregnant. While navigating her busy day at school, she received a troubling call from the Tigerland Child Care Center. Evan was sick and he hadn't eaten anything all day. Worried and frustrated, Belinda tried to reach David, hoping he could bring Evan home. Despite repeated calls, she couldn't get through. Eventually, Belinda left work early to pick Evan up herself. Around 12:15 p.m., Belinda finally managed to contact David. He immediately went home to take care of Evan. Belinda went back to school and finished her work at 3:20 p.m. Exhausted from the day, Belinda returned home later that afternoon and headed straight upstairs to rest. Meanwhile, David took Evan to the park and ran a few errands. But when they returned at around 5:35 p.m., something was terribly wrong. The gate was wide open, and the glass panel on the door was shattered. The sight sent a jolt of fear through David. Had their home been invaded? Panicking, David grabbed Evan and ran across the street to their neighbor, Mike Ruggiero, desperate for help. What started as a routine day had just taken a dark and frightening turn.
Mike, this is David. Open up the door. I saw David Temple and with his 3-year-old son, Evan, at the door.
He just shoved him to my husband and said, call 911, someone's broke in the house. My husband turned around shoved Evan in my arms.
Here, you take Evan. I'm going after David.
Mike and David ran to the Temple's home only to be blocked by the menacing barks of Shaka, the family dog. Mike had to stay back while David slipped through the back gate and entered the house alone. He raced upstairs to the master bedroom, where a horrifying sight awaited him. There, in the walk-in closet, lay his beloved wife, Belinda, pregnant and lifeless. The shock and devastation were overwhelming. David forced himself to call 911. Desperate to save her and their unborn child, he followed the operator's instructions, performing CPR in a frantic attempt to revive her. But it was too late.
Harris County 911, police, fire, ambulance.
Somebody's broken into my house and my wife has been shot.
Stay on the line for the ambulance, sir. We have a shooting victim. Go ahead, sir.
I just walked in, my wife, I believe she's been shot. It's got blood everywhere.
Okay, sir. Is she breathing?
Her brain is on the floor. I think she's already dead. She's 8 months pregnant.
Okay, sweetie. Just stay on the phone with me, okay? Sir, is there any way that you can kneel down next to her and see if she is breathing? Sir. Sir.
She's dead.
Okay. Let me get them over there, okay? Have them check her out. And when was the last time you saw her?
Oh, it's been several hours.
Several hours?
Yeah.
You say half of her brain is on the floor?
She's got part of it, a part of I can't even tell. She's down in the corner.
Okay. And she's 8 months pregnant?
Yes.
Have you felt for her to have a pulse?
Yes, she doesn't have one.
We got a baby, though, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay.
But I
Do you
don't...
know how to do CPR?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to do CPR for that baby.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Are you doing CPR for me?
She's gone.
Okay, well, let's see if we can use her, okay, for the baby.
Jesus Christ.
Police and paramedics rushed to the Temple household, but they faced an immediate obstacle. Shaka, the family's notoriously ferocious guard dog, wouldn't allow anyone to approach. Even an animal specialist couldn't calm the dog. With no other options, the police were preparing to shoot Shaka when David ran to the front door and allowed them into the house.
Does this look like someone maybe entered into your house?
Yeah, somebody's entered in my house. The back window is broken and my back door is still wide open.
The glass pane near the back door's knob was shattered, and a few items in the living room were out of place. But the scene upstairs was far more grim. They found Belinda lying on her stomach in the walk-in closet, a massive wound on the back of her head. She had been shot execution style, a single blast to the back of the head. Her unborn daughter, Erin, perished along with her. Further analysis revealed that a 12-gauge shotgun was likely the murder weapon. However, no such firearm was found in the house. Only 2 rifles that didn't match the weapon used. This supposed burglary took place in broad daylight, on a day when Katie's streets were bustling with teenagers and dog walkers. As they re-examined the crime scene, inconsistencies began to emerge, casting doubt on the burglary narrative. The first red flag was the broken glass near the back door. If a burglar had smashed the glass to unlock the door, the fragments should have been scattered inside, near the door. Instead, the glass was spread across the room, a pattern that only made sense if the door had already been open. From what detectives could see, the so-called burglar barely disturbed anything. The TV was laid on its side, but it was still plugged in. Drawers were pulled out, but everything was intact. Nothing was rifled through. In the master bedroom, a striking detail caught the detective's attention. Belinda's jewelry box, filled with gold and diamond pieces, was untouched. Nearby was a tray holding David's gold wedding ring, a thick gold chain, a gold watch, and his prized gold conference championship ring. Even the gold jewelry on Belinda's body remained undisturbed. Despite the apparent burglary, none of these valuables had been taken. According to Belinda's twin sister, Brenda, every time Belinda came home, the first thing she did was take off her shoes and put her purse on the dining table. But when the police found the body, she still had her shoes on. Her purse was found in a closet under the staircase. That means she might be attacked as soon as she walked through the front doors. Another unsettling clue deepened their doubts. Shaka, the family's formidable watchdog known for his fierce and intimidating presence, was unusually silent when the murder occurred. That dog's behavior raised serious questions. Why didn't he bark when seeing the supposed intruder? investigators reached a shocking conclusion. The burglary seemed staged. Something far more sinister had taken place, and the evidence pointed to a carefully crafted cover-up rather than a random break-in.
I'll never get rid of that. And the autopsy the next morning. I'll never forget that. That little girl was perfect. Perfect. And this was like, she was about to be born.
During the autopsy, the coroner retrieved a key piece of evidence, a bullet shell, perfectly intact, from Belinda's body. It was identified as a 12-gauge double-lock buckshot, confirming the type of weapon used in the crime.
12-gauge double-lock buckshot shells are used for hunting deer. It's also primarily now used for self-defense.
Despite exhaustive searches, the police were unable to locate the murder weapon. The absence of the gun was a significant setback, and to make matters worse, no fingerprints or DNA evidence could be found at the crime scene. As days turned into weeks with no new leads, investigation began to stall. With the burglary theory quickly unraveling, the police turned their attention to the surrounding neighborhood, zeroing in on a particular individual, Riley Joe Sanders, a teenager who lived next door to the Temples. Riley attended Katy High School and even was in some of Belinda's special education classes. Known for skipping classes to smoke pot with friends, Riley had earned Belinda's disapproval. She reported these behaviors to his family, resulting in him losing his driving privileges. This raised a critical question for the detectives. Could Riley harbor a grudge against Belinda strong enough to murder? Adding to their suspicions, Riley spoke to news reporters shortly after the murder, sharing his thoughts on the tragic event. He claimed he had been at school when Belinda was killed, but this alibi was quickly challenged by his classmates, who cast doubt on his whereabouts. However, significant questions remained. How could a 16-year-old boy manage to carry a large shotgun unnoticed in broad daylight, bypass the ferocious Shaka, and murder Belinda in cold blood, all in the name of revenge?
So you're telling me a 16-year-old kid managed to elude an attack dog, go upstairs with a shotgun, shoot Belinda in the back of the head, and then leave without taking anything? Come on, none of that made a lick of sense.
The theory, though intriguing, lacked hard evidence. With no concrete proof, police had no choice but to remove him from their suspect list. Investigators had to focus on the person closest to Belinda, her husband, David Temple. On the day of the murder, David was brought to a police substation for questioning. Instead of recording his statement, it was meticulously typed out.
She got home around 3:45 and went upstairs to lay down. While she was resting, I took my son to the park near our subdivision, and then to the grocery store and Home Depot.
However, David struggled to provide a clear and detailed account of his activities and movements while at the park. During the interview, detectives observed something unusual. Despite trying to save his wife and their unborn child, David had no blood on his hands or clothes. This discrepancy raised further suspicions. The detectives weren't ready to rule David out as a suspect, but he had a solid alibi. Security footage from both Brookshire Brothers and Home Depot clearly showed David during the time in question. This evidence frustrated David and his family, who felt the investigation was unfairly targeting him without concrete proof. To protect his interests and ensure he was properly represented, they reached out to lawyer Paul Looney to handle any further inquiries. As the investigation continued, the tension between the pursuit of justice and the need to clear David's name grew ever more intense, leaving the community on edge and searching for the truth. On January 15, 1999, just 5 days after Belinda's brutal murder, detectives finally caught a break in the case. The Roberts family, who lived directly behind the Temple home, came forward with crucial information. Alexandra Roberts and her 3 children claimed they heard loud noises that resembled gunshots when watching a cartoon. By cross-referencing the exact scene in the movie, detectives were able to pinpoint the time of murder with chilling precision. 4:35 p.m. This new timeline seemed to provide David with an airtight alibi. At 4:32 p.m., he was captured on CCTV footage at the Brookshire Brothers store and again at 5:14 p.m. at a Home Depot, where he was seen with his son, Evan. The surveillance footage clearly placed David away from the crime scene at the critical moments, forcing the police to remove him from list of suspects. Belinda's family also tried to help. They put up a billboard rewarding $10,000 for anyone knowing anything about the attacker. To their disappointment, no one came forward. The investigation soon hit a dead end. Belinda's murder case grew cold, shrouded in mystery, until it was reopened years later. In 2004, investigators reopened the case. They delved deeply into the lives of David and Belinda, questioning friends and acquaintances in hopes of uncovering new leads. What they discovered was far more than they had anticipated. Unexpected secrets began to surface. Belinda's friends revealed a troubling picture of a strained marriage. The once happy relationship unraveled after the birth of their son, Evan. At one point, the tension grew so severe that the couple stopped speaking to each other for 6 entire weeks. Belinda confided in her friends, feared that David wasn't as excited as she was about their new baby girl.
He would call her fat, slap her on her butt, and call her a fat.
From what you saw, how did Belinda react to that?
She was hurt.
She had some concerns about the time away from home that David was spending.
She suspected that maybe something was going on. I think she was hoping that it was for good reasons that he wasn't coming home on time.
This information took on even greater significance considering that in 2001, barely 2 years after Belinda's tragic death, David had remarried. His new wife was not just anyone, but a fellow teacher at his high school. The speed of his remarriage raised eyebrows, and investigators began to wonder if there was more to the story. Police turned their attention to David's work environment, questioning all of his colleagues. Finally, Quentin Harlan, another football coach, dropped a shocking secret that would turn the investigation upside down.
How often did David Temple talk to you about going to the happy hours?
I would say often.
Where else would you go?
Bars, strip clubs.
Whose idea was it?
Usually David's.
David Temple often went to bars and strip clubs. Even worse, he had an affair with another woman. The same woman became his wife shortly after Belinda's murder. To truly understand the depths of this betrayal, let's rewind to 1998, when David first crossed paths with this mysterious woman. Their connection soon ignited a firestorm of suspicion among investigators and the public alike. Was this affair more than just a coincidence? Might it play a role in Belinda's untimely death? It was the fall of 1998 when David Temple's life took a fateful turn. A new 9th grade teacher just arrived, Heather Scott, a young and strikingly beautiful woman from Little Rock, Arkansas. As the teachers socialized after school, it became increasingly clear to everyone that David became unusually close to Heather. David frequently visited Heather at her townhouse, and before long, a complicated love triangle emerged between David, Heather, and another male colleague, Quentin Harlan. Although Quentin was married at the time, he later admitted to kissing Heather. But David embarked on a full-fledged affair. He even confronted Quentin, questioning his intentions toward Heather, as if staking his claim. Meanwhile, the cracks in David's marriage became apparent. On December 27, 1998, Belinda's twin sister, Brenda, visited their home to celebrate their 30th birthday. Brenda saw David and Belinda's relationship as drained and disconnected, a far cry from the loving partnership it once was. Just days before Belinda's birthday, she suspected something was wrong when David told her he was going hunting on New Year's Eve. But deep down, she knew the truth. Investigators discovered that David had left his 8 months pregnant wife alone to spend New Year's Eve with his mistress, Heather Scott. For David, this wasn't just an affair. It was a dangerous entanglement that was spiraling out of control. During their time together, Heather confessed to David, "I hope you realize I'm falling in love with you." For a man like David, already feeling trapped in his marriage, these words were a spark, a dangerous catalyst for what was to come. Just 10 days later, Belinda and her unborn child would be dead. Even at Belinda's funeral, David's mind was elsewhere. He pulled Quentin aside, not to talk about his grief, but to ask how Heather was doing. In one chilling moment, Quentin asked David if he wanted to find his wife's killer. David's response was as cold as it was shocking. "What difference does it make? It won't bring her back." Then, on February 14th, just 34 days after Belinda's murder, David sent a dozen red roses to Heather for Valentine's Day, a gesture that spoke volumes about where his heart truly lay. With each revelation, pieces of the puzzle began to form a sinister picture, a calculated, cold-blooded murder carried out to eliminate the present and secure a future with Heather. David Temple was a man known for his relentless pursuit of victory, and this time, Heather was the prize he was determined to win, no matter the cost. In 2004, 5 years after Belinda's murder, David Temple was finally arrested and charged with her murder.
For nearly 6 years, the murder has remained a mystery, and David Temple has been the main suspect in his wife's death. Today, Harris County Sheriff's deputies had enough information to arrest David Temple for his wife's murder.
He was cooperative. He did not resist arrest. He was completely cooperative. I would say he was probably surprised.
The prosecution argued that David had staged the burglary to cover up his involvement in Belinda's death, motivated by his affair with Heather Scott. The defense, however, claimed that David was an innocent man wrongfully accused by investigators who were desperate to close a high-profile case.
We, the jury, find the defendant, David Mark Temple, guilty of murder.
In 2007, David Temple was found guilty of Belinda's murder and sentenced to life in prison. But that wasn't the end of the story. In 2016, this conviction was overturned by Texas's top criminal court, citing the prosecution withholding crucial evidence. David faced trial again in August 2019, where he was once more convicted of murdering his wife and unborn child. Yet this time, the jury was unable to agree on a sentence, leading to a mistrial. The onset of the COVID-19 pandemic brought the legal proceedings to a halt, leaving the case in limbo. Throughout the legal battles, David maintained his innocence, and his son, Evan, who had been just 3 years old at the time of his mother's death, stood by his father. In a tragic twist, Evan believed his father was wrongly convicted and continued to support him, despite the overwhelming evidence against David. In 2023, the trial was resurrected. The prosecution presented damning evidence showing that David was just 6 miles from his home with his son, Evan, shortly after 4:30 p.m. on the day Belinda was murdered. Additionally, 3 schoolchildren who lived behind the Temple home testified that they heard a gunshot around that same time. Meanwhile, David's second wife, Heather, divorced him in 2019 amid the trial proceedings. She eventually took the stand against the monster she once called husband. After 2 intense weeks of deliberation, the Harris County jury finally delivered a life sentence to the former football coach, now 54 years old.
The defendant, David Mark Temple, having been found guilty of murder, we, the jury, assess his punishment at confinement in the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for life and assess a fine in the amount of $10,000.
However, his 23-year-old son, Evan, whom prosecutors referred to as the real victim in this tragedy, continued to believe in his father's innocence. Evan was devastated when David was sentenced to life, unable to reconcile the man he knew with the verdict handed down by the court. Belinda's brother, Brian Lucas, who had endured the long and painful court process, called David despicable and believed he was guilty from day one.
The evidence was still there. It never changed. David was guilty from day one. The phone call I got that night at 10 minutes to 9 on Monday night of January 11th, I said he was guilty then. And 20 and a half years later, David Temple was still guilty. Yet today was more emotion than I've seen. The day when he was standing at the cemetery laughing, he has no sympathy.
Belinda's twin sister, Brenda, also spoke out, her voice filled with deep anguish. She looked directly at David and said, You not only took Belinda away from me, you took away my niece I never got to meet and watch grow up. Belinda should be here. Belinda should be teaching and enjoying life with family and friends. Finally, in 2023, after years of delays and heartache for Belinda's family, David Temple was sentenced to life in prison for the second time. The long road to justice had been agonizing for everyone involved. But Belinda's family could finally breathe a sigh of relief. But for Evan, the son who had lost both his mother and father, the outcome was bittersweet. To this day, he remains convinced of his father's innocence. The tragic murder of Belinda Temple is a case that shook the town of Katy, Texas to its core. It's a case that highlights the darkest sides of human nature: betrayal, deceit, and a cold-blooded murder carried out by someone who was supposed to love and protect his family. But even with David Temple behind bars, questions still linger. Was this a calculated crime of passion, or was it the result of a man's desperation to escape his old life? And what about Evan, the boy who lost everything in this tragedy? Does he truly believe his father is innocent, or is he simply trying to cope with the trauma of his mother's brutal murder? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think justice was truly served in this case, or is there more to the story? If you found today's video compelling, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe for more chilling and thought-provoking cases. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.